So why? Comfortable being uncomfortable. What does that mean? Comfortable being uncomfortable. For me, it really is, it's a life of no regret. Now, a lot of people think a life of no regret. What does that mean? Most of you are young. I think my shoes are older than each of you. But, and I saw your faces when you said 1984 Olympics. That's correct, right. So, it really is, here is my life goal. And when I was in high school, sometime in high school, I was given this challenge, and most of you have been given it, and it's like, live your life writing your obituary. And I know that sounds morbid, but here's your challenge. Live your life writing your obituary. So what would people say about you? If you died today, and I'm your scriber, so I'm talking to you right before you go, what would you say about you? What would you say to, what have you accomplished? Why is the world a better place because you were here? Don't tell me about age. Don't tell me about your inability to have influence. Because I think one of the things we think about when we hear about something, make a positive impact. And most people go exactly to, I'm only one person, what can I do? Well, I don't know about you, but I flew yesterday. And one person can do a lot negatively. And so if you think about the underwear bomber, thank you very much, who was in Detroit's airport, you know what? We have body scans. And we take off our shoes now. And we do a lot of things because one or very few people have changed the way that we do things. Because we're a reactionary world. And we tend to react to very negative things. But then what's the converse to that? One positive person can make as equal of an impact. And so we really need to shift our minds when we think about one person can make a difference. What can I do to make a positive difference? Think about the ripple effect. So whatever it is you're going into, whether it's in science, or it's in education, or it's in law, or it's in business, or it's messaging because you're going into communication, whatever it is you're going to do, you have to go with that mindset of doing something outstanding. Now, outstanding sounds like a really high bar, right? But what happens when you stand out from others? Break the word down. The sheep, when you look out when you're driving down the street, or here at Agriculture MSU, when you're driving past that you see that herd of cow, there's always that one cow standing different, not standing in the herd, not under the tree. What does your eye track to? Why is that cow not standing under the tree? Or what is that cow doing? What does that cow know? Your eye tracks to someone that stands out. Because when you stand out, guess what? You're outstanding. Outstanding doesn't have to be something at this global or huge world impact, national impact, state impact, university impact. You can stand out in your life. You can stand out in your groups. You can stand out in whatever you do. Every single one of you is here as part of your destiny. We don't make mistakes. And I know many of you think, especially when you're going through, I've gone through the facade. I've really gone through the facade of being like, hope nobody figures me out. I'm pretty good. So I'm gonna kind of say the right thing, I'm kind of be at the right places, but I really don't feel like I belong here, but I'm gonna fake it till I make it. We don't make mistakes. Every single one of you is here because you were chosen to be here. And your ability to make a difference, your ability to impact people, whether you're a graduate student or a PhD student, the questions that you're going to answer are being asked right now. Not only are they being asked right now, and they've been asked a long time. And so, when you're going through your theses or your dissertation, or you're going through your TA, or you're doing your research, it's lonely. It really is lonely. Actually, a level of elitism, it is lonely. Because it's really not about what makes you great does not happen when people look at you. The accolades do. So you heard about me in the Olympics. So you're like, oh my gosh, you won a medal in the Olympics. I lost a lot of races too. That's not in my bio. We're not going to talk about all the races I didn't win. Because a lot of times we talk about our victories, but along those victories, there's a string of teachable moments. And so you take those teachable moments, which can be very lonely. Because, it's like I remember the very first time I got my paper back when I was doing my PhD. My very first paper was so patriotic because I don't know why my professor used a red pen. I think that's just whatever. But, I used to love the color red until I probably got that paper, so now I kind of hate red. But it was torn up. And I thought, you know what? I did well in undergrad, I did well in my master's, and I'm working on my PhD, and I actually had the same experience. I got that paper back, and I thought, they made a mistake. I don't belong here. It was horrible. It was horrible. And then I kind of looked around the room because my paper was handed back to me like this. Like, oh crap. So, what did it teach me? And this is how, all your experiences in your life, they're all interrelated. How many of you have been in sport? Raise your hand. How many of you have been in some kind of organization? So you've been in the band. Or you've been in a choir. Or you've worked collectively on a step team. Or you can tell the difference, like, it was like, man, I've been in band, step team. How many of you have been a part of a dance group? And how many of you have been in some collective group in which you've had to key off the energy and understand what the other person's doing? Most of you. How many of you have been in gym class and done those stupid teams that the teacher made you be a part of? All of them. So what you've learned is you have learned both how to excel yourself, but also how to excel in a team. And I know all of you hate, you're like, oh my goodness, is this going to be a group work project? Why? Oh, I hate that. Because I can do it so much better myself. I know I can get an A. But life is a group project. And what you have to do is you have to learn how to leverage and blend the talents and the skills. But here's the inclusion piece. Because we talk about diversity, we really don't talk about inclusion. My title that the NSF gave me, the National Science Foundation, is I'm the diversity director. I don't want to be the diversity director. I want to be the inclusion director. Diversity is easy. It's bringing all these different skill sets together. But the inclusive is, how do you bring them together in a way in which you leverage them as strength to answer the questions that you're trying to answer? And so that's what you're doing. When you're doing this group work that you hate, I want you to shift your frame, because it really is leveraging these incredible differences, these incredible skill sets, these frames that help you answer the question more effectively and efficiently. Whatever they are. Global. When I was little, we didn't have cable. So we had basically 5 stations growing up. I'm telling of myself. But what we used to watch growing up is, we used to watch what was called the Mutual of Omaha, Wild World and Animal Kingdom. Absolutely. And you know what? I learned at a very, very early age, I wanted to be there. I wanted to learn cultures. I wanted to experience in first person. I don't know about you, but when I go to a museum, I experience it first person. I don't look at it as I'm looking at history, because to me history is dynamic. I'm history. We're history. No, there's no history. We're history. It's all interconnected. Things happen full circle. If you think they don't happen full circle, I wish I had kept my Nikes. Because they're coming out now, my son's like, Mom, these retro Jordans. I'm like, what? all interconnected. And so it really is a part of energy. It really is a part of energy. And those of you that are kind of questioning, I wonder if what I'm doing is right. I wonder if my major is right. Some of you are moving into actually determining your research question. And you're kind of selling your soul because you're like, oh my goodness, my committee kind of wants me to go this way, but my passions are this way. Or I'm having to make a determination of what, how I just self-define myself. And so, how do I write this vita so that a way that it's marketable, but it's true to who I am myself? Let me take a step back. I'm looking at my time, because I run track, so I know about time, right? So I'm looking at the clock. But let me give you a step back to my journey. And my journey is very diverse, and it goes all over the place. And it may seem like the only commonality is me, but here's my journey. My journey is, growing up, I am 5 generations from being a slave. 5 generations. It's not a lot of time. Not a lot of time. We didn't live long either. So when I say generations, we're not talking about a whole lot of time. But why do I say that? I say that because, within one generation, you can change. You can change a lot. My grandparents were illiterate. They graduated from middle school. I say graduated because you know what? It wasn't easy back then. They graduated from middle school, but it was implanted in them education. My parents had education. I'm 2nd generation educated. And when I grew up, it wasn't about was I going to college? Where was I going to college? And how was I going to college? How are we going to pay for it? And what you'll learn about me, when I mentor students, young professionals, which each of you is a young professional, it's not about what. Because it's like, okay, so what is it you want to do? We'll figure out the details in a moment. But what is it you want to do? Then you figure out the details. So then going back. So after graduating, and I had my degree, it was clinical in audiology and speech. And I thought I wanted to do clinical. And I was going to work, specifically I wanted to work in audiology. And I was blessed to have fast twitch muscles. And I want to tell you, my fast twitch muscles did not stop from the neck down. They started from the top of my head. I fast twitch. Same muscles that are in my body are the same muscles in my head, as in all of you, wherever you excel. And so what I learned is I had this ability to really kind of understand my where I had weaknesses. Because one thing about being an elite athlete, you're not coached to your strengths. You're coached to your weaknesses. I did not go to coach, when I went to practice every day, we did not practice what I had mastered. We practiced what were my deficits. And so you become very thick-skinned and you understand feedback. That's what you're going through with your dissertation committees or your thesis committee. They're not going to give you the feedback on what you're doing right. They're going to give you the feedback on where you have opportunities for strength. Because the bottom line is, you're looking to be elite leaders. The difference between being good and great is this. The difference between being great and phenomenal is even smaller. And the difference between being phenomenal and elite is even smaller. So you start to look more at minute details. You, my friends, are phenomenal elite leaders. We're not training you to be good. You came here good. You came here good. We're training you to be these phenomenal elite leaders to make this difference. And wherever you're going, and not just in your respective discipline, because I have a very strong charge to pay it forward. Every door you open, every opportunity you create, you shove your foot in that door and you keep it open. And you create these accessible pipelines to make sure the next person gets in, especially if your road has been challenged. you understand that navigation. That navigation that you figured out becomes part of the infrastructure to break down barriers for others. It's all about being curious. That comfortable, uncomfortable, what does that mean? It means you never stop learning. You know what comfortable is? Growth. When you are comfortable, you are not growing. How many of you ride bikes? How many of you ride bikes in 5th to 7th gear? Why? Because once you get that bike going to the level you want to, it doesn't take energy. It just takes just enough energy to keep that bike moving. But here's another one. How many of you drive with cruise control? Stop it. You know why? Because it becomes mindless. When you drive with your foot, you're always connected to the journey. Does that make sense? Once you put cruise control off and you pull that foot back, you are no longer in control of that. Now you still steer, I get that. Don't ever put your life on cruise control. And never ever get in the passenger seat. I don't care what your support system is. Never ever get in the passenger seat. And if you find yourself in the passenger seat, definitely find yourself in the back seat. You get in the front seat. If your support network does not embrace and empower you in your journey, I don't care how much you love them. I don't care how much you love them. Love yourself. Love yourself. And sometimes people around you, it's a lack of understanding. It really is that they're not trying to be empowering. They don't understand. And that's okay. That's okay. But you love yourself. And what I want you to be, and what I'm going to land in my last 9 seconds is, you will always know you were on the right journey because you will feel it. You will feel it. When you go off your journey, it's resistance. And your life becomes complicated. That's the world telling you you're not on your life path. So when you get off, when you start feeling that friction and that complication, and things really get complicated, you're not on your path, you're not in your flow. Get in the energy flow, but most of all, be comfortable. Always be comfortable, uncomfortable. Thank you.